What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video on my channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing more about the Webull zero free commission trading broker. Very similar to Robinhood, but it is a little bit different. The platform is much more complex than Robinhood, and it has many more features than Robinhood does. But if we were to compare Webull to another broker, realistically, the most common one that would come to mind would be Robinhood. So naturally, in a lot of these videos, you would hear me comparing Webull to Robinhood because they really are the two main zero free commission trading brokers that really have the most hype, at least right now. In this video, we're going to be looking at the watch list and how you can build a watch list and go through a couple of the features on the platform to help you guys get better at navigating this Webull stock trading broker. All right, let's jump into it. So naturally, when you get into Webull, this is what it's going to look like. When you get in, you will have a few options down here: watch list, market, trade, streams, and explore. You're usually going to be opening up and put right onto the watch list channel. Okay, we could basically call all these little categories down here different channels, so to speak. So right now we are currently in the watch list channel. This would be this little icon down here. So when you're on this icon, you'll see that it's highlighted in blue, and obviously that is how you know you're in the watch list channel. Up here, we have watch list overview. Now, this is an area, what I just circled, you can actually kind of customize this little drop down menu so that you can create different watch lists that you might want to have on your platform. So that's what we're going to talk about first. And then, of course, as you can see here, these would just be all the different stocks you have within your watch list. Right now, we're on watch list overview. So we have these particular stocks in the watch list overview. Okay. And then as you move to the right, so everything over here to the right is more or less just more data and more information regarding the stock that is on your watch list. I'll briefly talk about these, but in different videos, I'll probably go more in depth about what these actual numbers and this data that's being presented to you actually means, so that that way you can hopefully incorporate that into some more of your trading analysis or technical analysis. Okay, so talking a little bit more about these numbers, here's something that you might not have known if you've been playing with the platform or if you're new. On this section in the yellow box, you can actually click, excuse me, let me go back. That's not what I wanted to do. You can actually click and scroll it to the right, and this is going to allow you to see a little bit more data. Now, this is something new for me too, because when I initially started playing with the broker, I didn't know that on this platform, and again, this is a platform used on a mobile device. Right now, I'm using an emulator, so I'm actually doing this video from a computer, so I'm not on my phone, but this is exactly what it would look like on a phone. I'm just emulating it or putting it onto my computer screen, okay? So I didn't know you could actually scroll to the right here. So this is actually something new I learned today just before making the video, so that was kind of cool. So you're able to actually scroll this to the right and the left, and you can actually gain some more data and some more information on the stocks that are on your watch list. So just keep that in mind, that when you go into the watch list channel and you're looking at your stocks, that what's presented here in this yellow box isn't everything. You can actually scroll it to the right and get a little bit more information. Okay. So that is mainly what's going on here in the watch list channel. Now, moving a step forward, as we go up to here where it says watch list overview, this is where it gets kind of cool because you can click this drop down menu, okay? And you're actually able to manage your watch list and create different watch lists, which is really cool because that's something that Robinhood doesn't really allow you to do. They don't allow you to customize your watch list. You more or sense just have one broad overview of all the stocks you want to be watching. So again, just comparing it to Robinhood, because Robinhood's very popular, zero free commission broker, but again, it's not so sophisticated and doesn't cater as well to the more seasoned trader on the go using a mobile phone. It's more or less for the, I guess you could say, interlever, someone who's really not doing a ton of active trading. So now we're in the watch list overview. You can click managed watch lists. When you click this, you can actually create like a subcategory watch list. So let's say I want to enter a new watch list, and I'm going to make this, um, we'll make this index, like indexes. And this is actually something right here, what I'm creating. I would actually recommend you guys to create this too. So as you're going through the video, you can follow along and actually really just mimic what I'm doing, because I'm going kind of from scratch in creating these watch lists. And these are something that I'd highly recommend many of you guys to use. And I'll kind of give you a brief overview as to why. So let's create this watch list indexes, okay? Or we could just call it, index for short. So we'll go index, hit the check mark, and now we have created the index one. All right. When we click the index, we can now, when we go here, we can now go back and start adding to this watch list we just made. All right. So we just created a new watch list subcategory. So now let's say I want to start looking at some stocks. So I can go into the search channel. Again, that's where you'd start looking at stocks. You actually can't see it in the video, but I'll draw a little arrow. Over here, there is an actual little search bar icon, but you can't see it because of the way the streaming service I'm using, the video puts over that little area. So there is a search bar there. So when I go into the search bar, I am now able to, of course, search up stocks. So in the index one, this is what I would want to put in. I'll put in something like the SPY. This is an ETF, but I'll just add this for now. Okay, add it into index. Okay, so that would be how you would go about, searching up a ticker and adding it to your index. Okay, there we go. DJX. So here's the Dow Jones. Okay, let's add that into there. Let's look up the Russell 2000, and we will add it into there. So I'm just gonna, and that will be it right there. Okay, so you've seen me add all of those little ETFs, all right? So the reason I did that is I'm gonna put this into the index one. So these are a lot of times the indexes I will follow as a broad overview to get an understanding on the market. So a little lesson here on indexes. So really you have the Dow Jones, S&P 500, the NASDAQ, um, Russell 2000. So these are kind of some main indexes a lot of people follow to get a broad perspective on how the overall market's doing without actually looking at every single stock that's within these indexes. Essentially, we can just look at the index itself and say, okay, this is kind of how the market's doing as a whole. So as a trader and someone using this application, I think would be a great idea for you to create something similar, like an index watch list, so that every morning you could pop on your phone into your broker or into Webull, and you could simply go to your index watch list subcategory, and you'd be able to go, okay, the Russell 2000's up, the Russell 2000's down, the SPY's up this much, the Dow Jones is down this much, et cetera, et cetera. And you can just start off your morning with a quick overview on how the market is rather than just looking at particular stocks. Now you kind of know how's the overall market doing. So I think creating that index watch list wouldn't be a bad idea for some of you guys out there. All right, so let's go into here again, and I'll show you just kind of real quick what we could do also. So I have here FANG, that's the FANG. All right, so I actually put Intel in there because I was just playing around with the platform, but I don't really want them in there. But I created the Google, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Facebook watch list. So those are kind of like all the major big companies, the FANG companies, again, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, monster stocks. So I have a specific subcategory watch list folder for those stocks only. So when I want to pop in on the morning and see how are the stocks doing that are the FANG stocks, biggest ones out there for the most part, I can take a look at them and simply go, okay, they're all up this much and down this much. Rather than scrolling through a big list of stocks, I can just subcategorize everything here on the Webull, which is awesome because, again, a very similar application known as Robinhood doesn't really allow you to do that. So real quick, I just want to touch on this one last thing. So we can also go into, again, we can go back in here to manage watch lists. This is another idea that I would recommend some of you guys doing. Maybe creating another category, another watch list, and just call it, you could do it whatever you want. Let's say we call it chip makers, right? And you don't have to be, super stock with it, right? You could be chip makers, or you could categorize your watch list whatever you want to make them, right? You can title them whatever you want to make them. So have fun with it as well. So for this one, I'll call it chip makers, right? I'll hit check marks, and I've created the chip makers folder. And what do you think I'm going to put in here? Well, you name it. I'm going to put in stuff like Intel, INTC. So I'm going to hit Intel, put it into chip makers, take it off a thing. I don't need it there. And that's how you can do it. You can obviously take stocks out of them, so we'll add it into chip makers. Now I want to add in Micron, which is MU. So we'll add an MU to the chip makers. Okay. NVIDIA. And lastly, what do I have? AMD. I'm going to put an AMD in here. So again, you can see that I've just added a few major big name companies into a new watch list folder, which is now called chip makers. So we got AMD, NVIDIA, Micron, and Intel. Some very big companies that do a lot of graphics cards, processors, things like that, right? A lot of semiconductors. So with that being said, now I have a folder that is all built up of all of the stocks that naturally have the same business model. They may do some different things, but essentially this folder, the chip makers, all these companies are very in common. And so now I have a folder that's all for these particular stocks that revolve around the same business model. So that's another approach you could take essentially to kind of building a watch list here. All right. And then lastly, again, just kind of retouching here. When we go back into, or sorry, from the home screen here, right, we're at watch list. We can go up to here and go to watch list overview. When we do watch list overview, it's going to bring up everything we have, okay? So when you do a watch list overview, it's going to show you all of the stocks that are in every single watch list, okay? So if you wanted to just go by subcategory, you can look at them. So imagine you had you had a lot of watch lists, right? You had a ton of watch lists. Well, if you had a ton of watch lists, then yeah, it could take you a lot of time to scroll down this list and find exactly what you're looking for if you didn't already know where it was, okay? Or you could save yourself the time by just clicking into your subcategory and minimizing all your results. But if you go to the watch list overview, again, you will have all of the stocks that are in your watch list. Okay, so again, breaking it down into subcategory could be a little easier for some of you guys. Next thing that you guys really, I guess we could talk about here is you can see here, this is all, and then we have United States, you have Canada, all right? So we click into United States, what do you think it's going to pull up? Yeah, it's going to pull up things that are related into the United States. If we click into Canada, there's nothing under Canada because I haven't added anything under Canada. If you wanted, you could add more groups here. Okay, you could edit your groups and you could actually add more here. Okay, that's an option you have. You could take off Canada, you could add you could take off the United States. So these are kind of just like two categories here that you could play around with. So pretty cool. How much would I use it? I don't really think I'd use it all that much, but again, it is something that you guys could look into more if you wanted to. Now, for me, I'm really not all that crazy about it, so it's probably not something that I would worry too much about in terms for me. All right, guys, so I hope you liked that video. That basically covers everything in terms of the whole watch list area. There might be a little things that have been left out, but they're very small that you guys will probably pick up along the way. In the next video, we are going to start looking into the markets tab right here. So if you guys like the video, please do give me a thumbs up, a like, share, and subscribe before you head out for the video. And then always make sure to tune back into the channel because we are going to be covering more of these areas in the platform. We're going to look at markets, we'll look at the trade tab, we'll look at the stream tab, we'll look at the explore tab, and we'll really dive into the Webull platform and how you can utilize it and use it to hopefully gain an extra edge in your trading. So thank you guys again for tuning in. As always, make sure to subscribe, like before you head out the door, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.